Hi, Dmitry here again. And basically, some of you asked me questions and I had to look up some things and I have some answers. So here you go. First, Preburst. Okay, so let's talk about the Preburst. Now, the functionality of the Preburst. And I actually read about it on the Canon Zone site in their advanced manual. And it's very interesting. Here's what they say. The amount of preliminary shooting during Preburst varies depending on the continuous shooting speed. For example, at the continuous shooting speed of approximately 30 shots per second, the camera shoots for about 0.5 seconds before you press the button completely. So as I thought, it was half a second, but it says that's at 30 shots a second. So maybe if you do 20 or 15, it's a longer Preburst. I don't know, I haven't tried it, but that's what it says. Another thing that I thought is kind of interesting, it says, subjects may be out of focus if there are sudden changes in the distance between the subjects and the camera while you're pressing the shutter button halfway. That I don't get. I assume that the camera is in continuous focus mode while you're doing a pre-shot. So yeah, that part I'm not sure about. The second question I had from somebody is they asked me if the Preburst functionality can be actually assigned to a particular button on the camera for ease. And this is very interesting because on the Canon R8, which is what can go $1,500, goes on sale for $11.99. You go into the menu, you pick a button, customize buttons, and you pick a button where you want to set it up, and basically right there it's the blue, if you can see the blue choice, that's the raw burst, and you can assign it to a button, and when you press this button, it leads you to another menu where you have to enable it and you're in. So basically not an instant solution, you still have to do one more step in the menu, but it's there. Now on the R5 Mark II, which is much more expensive, you cannot assign this function to any buttons, which is very, very interesting because actually the number of functions that you can assign to any button is much higher than in R8. There's like myriad of functions except Preburst, at least with the firmware 1.00, the new R5 Mark II, you cannot assign Preburst to any of the function buttons. So here's what I did. What I did is I did all my bird settings and assigned them to C1. Then what I did is I added a Preburst on, and then I reassigned this whole thing to C2. So basically all I have to do is press menu, C2, and I'm in my bird settings with the Preburst on. So it's pretty fast. But it's not on the same button, but I just assigned this to C2. So this is my shortcut. Now, second thing is eye control. Now, the eye control, I tried yesterday, I set it up, but it would not work for me because I set it up here and then I basically exited home to take some pictures of my wife just outside the door, but the light changed there and then it went to hell. Basically, it didn't work. So you have to assign, I assume what you have to do is for every light condition and a scenario, you have to do your own, you have to reset it separately, save it, and then it might work. But things change, light changes. For me, it's too much to think about, so it's not gonna work. The next thing is the silent shutter, and I am correct, and I found it in the Canon guide, and the Canon says basically silent shutter function. That's in the advanced manual. It says when you select silent shutter functions, your shutter at shutdown remains open. Basically, if you want to have a silent shutter on in your camera and you want to try to change lenses with, whether your camera is on or off, your sensor will be exposed. The shutter will not be closed. So here's my solution. What I figured out to do is instead of doing silent shutter on, I went into the menu and I did beeping sounds off because it's a separate menu where you can just do beeping sounds off. So I did beeping sounds off, the silent shutter function, I turned it off, And now I'm fine. Basically, the beeping sounds are off, so it's kind of silent when I'm doing my electronic shutter shooting. Yet my shutter closes when I change lenses, and my sensor is not exposed. So here's what so essentially, basically, I remove myself from the silent shutter function altogether, and just did beeping off. Okay, and finally, power on speed. Somebody asked me in terms of how fast does R5 Mark II, how fast would it wake, how long does it take for it to wake up? Because apparently Mark I was one of the slower cameras to wake up. So I got my, basically, some of my cameras that I have just to see the speed and to compare it. So here's an older camera, Sony a7R3. I'm gonna say it took at least a second, maybe a little bit more. Here's Fuji X-T5, kind of a newer camera. I'm gonna say also took over a second. And here's R5 Mark II. I say it's very fast. Let me do it again. I say it's pretty fast. So far, it's the fastest one from all those cameras. Let me do Canon R8. Let's see. Slower. So it appears that at least with the 4 cameras I have here on the table, the R5 Mark II is the fastest camera to wake up. I would say what? Under a second maybe? Let's do again. Yeah, about a second, under a second. So it's not instant, but it's not that bad. Thank you. Subscribe to my channel. I'll probably have some more videos on this camera as I discover more things. Thank you.